Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 63 of the Rested and Rejuvenated Homegames podcast. My name is Joseph, and this is Yazeed, and we are going to talk about... I don't like the tone I gave you just there. You guys are more than...
This is Yazeed. We don't really care about him. He only comes out of the dungeon for this.
So I'm saying that because we changed it up a little bit, or we're changing it up, so I'm the main intro person, and I feel like being the main intro person and then being like, this is Yazeed, and then waiting for you to give your like catchphrase, it's a bit much. So I was trying to be like, and this is Yazeed, but I kind of threw you in the garbage in the process. I didn't mean to do that.
That's where I belong. It's all good, man.
For home games topics this week, or for just topics in general, we're talking about our vacation that we just came back from, and some home games 2021 stuff that both of us have been thinking about / maybe working on. But before that, what's up with you, Yazeed?
So quite a bit. I mean, listen, Joseph and I talked like for an hour about wild stuff we did in the pre-show. But Cyberpunk, I completed Cyberpunk, not 100% completion, because that's like another level of human being. I beat the game finally, which I chose the worst ending possible, I think. So,
how many hours did it take you total?
Probably 40, I think.
Okay.
40, 45, something like that.
Were you kind of just doing story, or were you trying to do some side stuff, or like how'd you split it up?
I honestly wasn't intending to do story. I was mostly just doing side quests, and then like through an kind of odd series of events, I completed the side quests that I was interested in doing, and the other ones were like, go rescue Bob from the scavengers, and I was like, I don't care about Bob or the scavengers really. So then I just finished the game, and they give you like a series of choices, and I think I chose the wrong choices, which isn't great. At the end of the game, I wasn't like, yeah, I beat this game. I was like, I should play this game again because I played it wrong. But I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna wait to see how they fix this game. So I'm gonna wait like 6 months, maybe until they come out with a DLC or something.
Do you think? Did you enjoy it, even though you got what you think is a shitty ending?
So I watched Donkey's review of it, and it really kind of like helped me frame how I think of this game. And I kind of agree with him. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's not great. Like, we talked about this like a while ago, but the shooting in that game's not fantastic. I miss
super trash.
I have no idea sometimes whether I'm hitting people or not.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the characters are great in that game. I loved interacting with the characters in the game. Like, not like, oh, NPC 42 on the streets. Like, oh, like Judy or Jackie or Pan Am or Saul or Mitch or like all those people that you interact with was like fun. And even like Johnny. Like, when you interact with Johnny, I'm not like...
That's the only Keanu Reeves character, right?
Yeah. The only character I hate, his name is Placide, and
sounds like your name.
Yeah, it does sound like my name.
Fake Yazeed.
Yeah, a little bit. I was definitely not happy that a character has a name that's similar to me, but I also hated that character with a passion. So there's that.
Well, you're listening to these characters, and for me, it's like I don't know how far I should be, or at what point, like how many hours I should be into that game, or you know what I mean? Like, coming off of vacation, I kind of wanted to just give that game time, and I did try a few times to really get into it, to even understand anything about it or learn any of the characters or know anything. But I have no idea who any of the people that you named are. Like, I made zero progress.
Yeah, you might not have ran into a lot of them yet if you don't have like a lot of hours in the game. But
I'm like 4 hours in.
Oh yeah, I don't even think you've met any of them, so I wouldn't. You met Jackie.
Yeah, he's the and I met Rick Ross. Whatever.
He's your chum. Rick Ross.
The big bald.
Oh,
black
Dexter
dude.
Deshawn. Yeah. You do meet him. Rick Ross.
He looks like Rick Ross.
That's very funny. Yeah, I mean, I think for me it was like I said, I wasn't trying to like speed run this game or anything, so I was taking time to like talk to the people and like not just like, oh, like this will move the story forward. It'd be like, oh, here's some options that are just like like small talk basically with this person. And that's how you kind of figure out what they're all about. Because I think you can play that game, beat the game, have no idea what any of the people were about or anything like that, and just be like, yep, fun game.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do that, because that's kind of what I'm like. In the dialogue options, I'll run into these things where it'll be like, my guy apparently knows something about the situation that this person's describing. So this person who I, the player, just met, I know nothing about this character. Maybe I could have read the fucking log. Maybe I could have checked someone's email and read up about them, but I didn't. And I'm here. I don't know who this is. And they said something to me, and my dialogue option is, yeah, they always do that. I'm just like, who? Am I supposed to know that? Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, the game doesn't know I'm even here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like a lot. No,
yeah.
I was just to say it's a lot to even get into. That's why I don't want to play it more, because I feel like I'll just get closer to the end without understanding anything. It's kind of like what we talked about when I first started playing this game. And I said, in a book, not understanding what's going on is tough, because I need to keep reading, and it's like an active thing, whereas the game keeps happening to you. But Cyberpunk hit this level of like, even this, I can't keep playing this. Like, I can't make any progress. I can't do anything in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you slowly start to like get the characters a little bit more, and you start to like understand the setting more. And I think initially your guy just says like, oh yeah, like, you know how they're always like that or whatever. And I think some of the times it's just like you're kind of bullshitting. Like, if you did the Corpo opening, because I know you did.
Yeah, I did.
There's like some of the convo you have at the very conversation. I don't know why I'm abbreviating in real life. Some of the conversation you have, like that very first conversation with your boss in that game.
Yeah.
I think is straight up like you doing like the corporate dude thing, where like, even though you have no idea what you're talking about, you're just like, oh yeah, man, like I agree with you, or like, oh whatever. And like I literally, because at some point the game is like, you don't know who these people are, so you can ask them like who these people are, and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you need to talk to like Jim, and you go talk to Jim, and it's just like, yeah, we gotta go kill those guys, and you're like, who are these guys? And it's like, oh yeah, like those guys did this thing and this thing and this thing, and you're like, oh okay, all right, cool, we gotta go kill those guys then.
But is that good? Like, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's an engaging way to tell a story.
Story, no. Like I said, like I kind of very much agreed with Dunkey. The story is not great. It's the characters that I think are really well done. Like, your interactions with the characters, and you start to like build an attachment to the characters, and like as you interact with them more, they interact more positively with you, and it's like you're actually, like, obviously you're not friends with that person, but like in game, your character is friends with that character. And it's like when you hang out with them, sometimes you have just levels where you're just chilling with them, and like you're just like shooting the shit basically.
Yeah.
And those levels like my favorite, because it like they feel nice, because it's like, oh, like we're friends and I'm interacting, and this doesn't really move the story forward, and we're just talking about like stuff that we both know about. Like, you, the human who's playing the game, even knows about what they're talking about. But that's what I think the game does really well, of like connecting you to the other main NPCs. Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that stuff is cool. I think one thing I've really, really liked about the game so far is like, I think you might have mentioned it, but just walking around, just looking at things and just kind of taking it all in. There are moments where that whole immersion kind of goes away because something weird will happen, or like just general kind of stuff like that. I haven't run into many bugs, just kind of small weird shit, I guess I would say. So technically bugs, but not really. So it's been mostly smooth, but I like walk around the city, and then I don't do missions, because every time I do, I feel like I missed a lot of context. And I'm only a few hours into the game. I'm maybe an hour and a half out of the open world, like the little intro tutorial thing, like actually being on the open world. And I just, like I said, I tried a few times over the break. I just could not get into it.
I think the idea is that your character doesn't really know much about the world either. Like, basically, Jackie knows about the world, and you're like, you're Jackie's like protege, kind of.
But it feels like my guy does know a lot about the world, because all these options keep coming up because apparently he knows about all the other different corporations and the culture of those corporations and the way that like they handle things, which apparently in this future is everything. Like these corporations run everything. So then by the nature of that, like, wouldn't he know a lot? But then also this person's like, yeah, these gangs over here are violent. These gangs over here are more cool if you don't fuck with them. It's like, well, like, what is happening?
Yeah, like I said, like there's some stuff that like helps you if you're really lost, like the like little shards or whatever, like basically little books where they
I'm not gonna read that shit, dude. Like they should tell me the story in a way that like I don't need to go dig through menus to find out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna ever fix that. I don't know. I mean, the game might not be like fun for you, I guess. Like I like games where you have to like figure out kind of the setting and stuff. See, but like I said, like you learn more and you become more comfortable in the setting the more you play. Because they'll be just name dropping corporations. You're like, I have no idea what this is or what's going on. And then at some point you're like, it starts to click of like, oh, Militech is this company. Like, oh, like Arasaka is this company. Oh, Biotech is this other company. Like all that stuff starts to like, King Tao is another company. But
yeah. But I think it's crazy that this game is apparently like it seems pretty like next level. You know what I mean? In the way that it looks and the way that it's kind of telling a story, and kind of the the way that it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on. Like it seems very rich. Like it seems like a game that is moving things forward in those ways. But at the same time, you shoot people and they drop things that you can read, and you can go up to computers and you can read emails and you can go. And it's like, this was in fucking Deus Ex. This was in Fallout, whatever. Like, this is super old, and this is so goddamn janky. Like, why did this guy just have this book on him? Who the fuck is this guy? You know, like, what does this stuff mean? Like, why is it here? And then there was one mission that I turned the game off. This is the most recent one I played, where I went to go kill somebody. Oh, it was like some robot for someone, and I just got into the thing where like you can move the videos and like go dig into the history and like be there in the memories.
Oh yeah.
Whatever that whole thing.
The brain dances, yeah.
Brain dances. I just got into that. So I killed somebody, and there was like this sense of urgency to leave, right? So Jackie was leading me on, and he was like, "Yeah, we have to go. Fucking get out this way." I was like, "Cool." And then I found a laptop or a computer with a button that said I can access stuff. And I did. And I was there taking my time reading emails, knowing that in the game, this dude's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, we gotta go. And there's a huge disconnect between, like, I'm just trying to absorb the story, but, like, this game doesn't feel like it's made for what I want to do, which is, like, know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, so the way I understood that one, like, that specifically, is that the game will, like, freeze everything around you. Because in reality, like in that universe, you basically just like put your little like connector thing into the computer and you got all that information like instantly. Then you just took it out and you were like, cool, we're good to go.
That sounds like someone was like, how do we explain away this bullshit? Like, it's the future.
It's the future. It kind of is the explanation though. But yeah, like the whole idea is just like your brain has like a processor in it. And so you can just like click into a computer, get all that information in the processor. The processor will like figure out all those ones and zeros, distribute that out to your brain so you understand it, and then you like bloop, you just unclick and go. It's like all that stuff happens like almost instantly, basically.
But in my actual time, it doesn't. So there's still the disconnect between the music is going. I just shot 6 dudes. I'm gonna go read 5 emails and then keep running. Yeah. That's really strange.
Yes, it really
Anyway, I guess that's all I'm saying. I don't like that game. I guess I'm just trying to say I don't like that game so far, and it really bums me out. Because I like, earlier this, or I guess last year at this point, I tried to get into, I didn't mention the date. It's January 4th, 2021. Welcome, everybody.
To the old 2021.
What was I saying? Anyway,
last year?
Yeah, I was getting into the Outer Worlds, which was a similar thing where it's like, open world, kind of shitty shooting. The whole point is the story and talking to people and exploring and all this kind of stuff. And I got more into that one because at least up front, it was like, here's these corporations. They run the universe. This, you are going to go do missions for these people. It's like, got it. I understand that we're in this like fucked up world. I don't need to know a lot. Cyberpunk is like you're in the midst, like you're in the depths of this shit. This guy. Just like, the fuck. So it bumps me out.
Yeah, I would say if you want to like that game, which it sounds like you do, you just kind of have to play it. And at some point, it'll click. And when it clicks, the game suddenly makes a lot of sense. And until that point, you're kind of like, oh boy, I don't know what's going on. And there's not a lot of in between, I don't think. Like at some point, you memorize basically like all this information.
I guess it just seems like not a good way to do that. Like if I was making a game, I wouldn't put people in the middle of the story right at the front.
Yeah,
overwhelm them with shit.
Like the whole montage at the opening when you go from being a corpo to being Jackie's protege. You probably should have played through that and been like, and he should have been like, these are the corporations, these are the gangs, this is what a fixer is, this is what we do, and like all that stuff probably should have been explained. But
then it's kind of like we were talking before the proper episode podcast, whatever. We were talking before the show about websites and like best practices in websites. And so you can look at something and say that's bad, even though you want it and you think it works. That's bad because we, the people who make shit, say so. So then people who make games at a certain point were like, when you have a lot of exposition, it's bad to just front load exposition and tell people what the fuck is going on. What we need is to immerse them and give them 600 emails and let them watch brain dances and let them fucking talk to people about shit that they don't actually know about. Like anyway, I keep saying the same shit over again. I just don't like that game. How about that?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's fine to not. Listen, that game isn't like the best game of all time. It's just something I really did enjoy playing. One thing I do like about that game is that they'll be like, this is a brain dance. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then like as you start to like memorize what a brain dance is, no one calls it a brain dance anymore. They call it BDs. So like, yes. Oh, like those BDs. But like because you know that a BD is a brain dance, then you like start to put it all together and like slowly they'll add, like basically they'll use more of the like world's lingo and like abbreviations and stuff. And because you know what those are now, like it makes sense and you just like fall in line with it. I don't know. There's like that game like eases you. Not that game doesn't ease you in, but like after like the tipping point of like you figured out what this world is all about, then they start to like really just run wild with the idea of like you're in it, kind of. I don't know. I really like that though.
It's like they tried to make the game as hard as possible to get into. It's like you're getting jumped into a gang. It's like, all right, man, it's tough to get in here, but once you're in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of like if you watch Star Wars Episode 4, and that's the first Star Wars you'd ever seen with no knowledge on anything Star Wars related. That's a lot of information to take in. Like the Death Star and Ben Kenobi and Luke Skywalker.
That's
and
literally
Leia.
What they do, though.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing, but that one became a super success based on that, basically.
But in that movie, the characters you care about and the story that they're actually telling is like in this greater universe that has a lot of lore and backstory. But the characters that you're looking at, the story that you're watching is explained. You understand that this guy is this guy's uncle. This guy fucking died. This guy got a lightsaber. You know what I mean? Like you understand what's happening to these guys, even if you don't understand how a lightsaber was made. You know what I mean? It's like a different type of thing.
Yeah, this is true.
So that's Cyberpunk. What else has been going on in your life?
I finished Adventure Time. So 10 seasons.
Show?
Yeah,
Nice.
It's like 10 seasons plus the like extra episodes and everything. Finishing a show that you've like devoted hours of time to makes me feel sad. Like I've lost those characters kind of.
Are you? Well, I guess since you don't watch movies again, I doubt you'd watch the show again.
Yeah, I won't watch the show again.
But anyway, whatever. We don't have to get into that. How was it? Did you enjoy the show?
Yeah, I love Adventure Time. Adventure Time is one of my favorite TV shows. It's that one and New Girl, I think, are my two favorite TV shows.
Did you just go super hard like one weekend and just watch a bunch, or what was your strategy?
Basically, like every day of the break, I'd watch like 6 episodes. So
Nice.
like 120 to 180 minutes of song or something like that.
Oh, I thought you were about to say 122 episodes. I was like, fuck, man. Okay.
I think in total there is like 122 episodes or something.
Okay. I mean, in a whole show, that's not bad. But if you'd watched that many over like a month, I would have had to.
I basically, from the time I got sick until now, I've watched it. It's 10 seasons of like 20 to 30 episodes per season. So it's a lot.
Nice. I've been trying to get into, or not trying to, I've been wanting to get into Adventure Show for the longest time, or Adventure Time, because, I don't know, I've heard nothing but good things about it. It's got like a very big cultural presence like Rick and Morty does, kind of.
Adventure Time basically like changed children's TV shows. Almost all the like modern big shows have alumni from Adventure Time. Like either the directors or the animators or whatever. Like almost all of them have spent time on Adventure Time.
Yeah, that's cool. It's what, yeah. There's so much of it. Like my little cousin, she's super into Naruto, and she was like going off about all this nerdy shit, whatever. I don't understand, but that's one of those things. It's kind of like that where there's so much of it, and I know that people like it, and I know that one day I want to start it, but not right now because there's so much of it.
One of my friends just finished Naruto, actually, the whole thing.
Wow, it's impressive. I'm assuming there's a lot of it.
A year and a half, but yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I accidentally not accidentally, I just read a word off of a description of one of the characters, and my little cousin corrected me with the right way you say it. It's like, oh, it's Kuruge or some shit. No, it's like, okay. You know what I mean? I have become the old weirdo who doesn't know about anime or doesn't know about whatever the kids are into.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, have you guys ever seen Adventure Time? They'd be like, ugh.
That's old man shit now.
It kind of is. It kind of is.
Well, yeah, 10 seasons. Like, my youngest cousin is not 10. You know what I mean? She's younger. So anyway, it's weird. We're older. Time passes on, etc.
Yes. Yeah. Like, if you want to watch a cartoon that is silly and goofy, but at the same time has some like heat, like weight to it.
It's got some heat to it.
It does have a little bit of heat to it. I would watch it. There's definitely like some like arcs and stories in the show that I think are some of the best that have ever been written. Like, I don't want to spoil any of it because if you watch it and just experience it for the first time, like, I think you'd really like it. I think you'd really like that show.
I think I would. It's why it's been on my list. It's kind of like my 400 books thing. It's just like I'm drowning in entertainment and I get stressed out about it, but it's okay.
Yeah, now I have no shows to watch, so.
You have no shows?
I have no video games to play and no shows to watch. I'm in like a weird spot where I don't know what to do with my free time.
Well, you could play Hades if you want to play a new video game.
I heard that game's fantastic, dude.
Yeah, I started playing it. I didn't know much about it. That's one of the things this whole vacation I tried to do a bunch of stuff, but Hades actually took up quite a bit of my video game time. I thought I would try it out for like 20-30 minutes, and then just today I think I like technically finished it. So I don't know anything about Hades, by the way. I like beat the game technically, maybe, and I don't know how to describe it. It's like a rogue-like or rogue, whatever people say, rogue-like and roguelite, whatever that kind of game. There's kind of a world, like a hub world, where you can talk to different characters and have upgrades and stuff like that persist through different runs of this thing. There's another little area where you can buy weapons. And then you get to the actual run, which is kind of like these 4 different worlds of stuff. Again, I don't know anything about the actual game. It's like Greek gods and shit. Hades, Aphrodite, whatever the fuck, whatever, all of them, right? And basically, I am the kind of person who doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. I don't really know what's going on in this hub world. There's like all this dialogue and things keep changing. I don't care. The actual game is super fun. Like, you dodge and you attack, and there are melee weapons, and there are I got a gun today. There's guns. They just introduced fucking guns after 8 hours of swords, so that was pretty cool. There's bunch of upgrades. It's just, I don't know, I guess the whole thing is that every run is pretty different because depending on what weapon, it seems to be that whatever weapon you have determines the boss fights, like the way that the bosses actually interact and the actual enemies that spawn in certain worlds and stuff like that. Just super engaging, kind of like Enter the Gungeon. If you've ever played Enter the Gungeon, it's kind of just like a lot of weird lore and like things that seem to happen and persist in characters that will seem to matter. And it's like, oh, you talk to this guy over here and then he jumps and then he ends up in this dungeon over here on if you run it. It's like weird shit. But the core of the game is just trying to play this like relatively difficult combat very well and just trying to progress. And that's the whole game. So I say I technically beat it because I think I beat the boss for the first time today, but I'm pretty sure that it'll be a different time the second time I run it, or the third, because like up to this point I've killed the first boss the most often, right? So like I killed her a few times, and then on like the fourth time I fought against her, she was a different person. It was like a different character in the same boss room, and they had like dialogue and stuff. There's, because what I'm saying, there's a lot of things that happen. And I don't care. I just like the game is very fun. But... yeah, it's as confusing as Cyberpunk's story, but it's actually fun. So it's better than Cyberpunk in that way.
Is it like Hotline Miami with like the top-down approach, or is it not like that?
Yeah, it's like isometric, I think is what they say. It looks like all the other Supergiant games. It's kind of like 2.5D. Like your guy has there's depth to it, but it's 2D.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I actually ever play roguelite, whatever.
I think there was a game called Rogue that started this whole thing, Rogue, and then it was roguelite in the sense of like it's like Rogue, and then it became a roguelite, as in it's not as hardcore as Rogue, but it's like Rogue. I don't know. The point is that word is intended to mean, I think, your death is like it's all what is it, like procedurally generated stuff, and you die and you restart, it's different every time. That's what we're talking about. I think
I don't think I've ever played a game like that before, like actually like sat down and played one. So I think if I did play that game, I'd have a lot of questions.
You ever played Rogue Legacy? That's a really good one. Enter the Gungeon is kind of like that. They're maybe not what you would like, because essentially it's just, well, depending on like Hades is a bit more, there's a bit more on top, but at its core it's like when you said Dark Souls is essentially just dodge and attack. That's basically what Enter the Gungeon is. That's basically what Hades is. It's just a really good version of that. So I don't know if you care so much, because the whole thing is like iterate, keep doing it again and again and again, and it's different every time, but you're not like finding out a big story or whatever.
I think it'd be worth an attempt on it. The game seems like it's one of the best games of the year. And the other option is like go back and finally beat Doom, but I don't think I'll ever do that.
I've been meaning to play the Doom DLC, but I don't want to buy it full price yet.
There's DLC for Doom?
Yeah, they just came out with the first one. There's another one coming out at some point.
They add better multiplayer?
I think they added more stuff for multiplayer. I like the Doom 1 multiplayer a lot more than the second in Doom Eternal.
It's Doom 2016 is the official.
Fuck you.
What else, man? What else have you been doing?
Shit. I'm looking at this list. It's so huge. I'm going to run through some things. Tell me if you're interested. I played some video games. I played the Tony Hawk remaster.
Did you beat the Tony Hawk game? Before we move on, did you beat it?
I got all the medals in Tony Hawk 1 and 2, except for maybe like 3 or 4 medals total. Yeah. Is
it as fun as you remembered?
So that's the interesting thing. I didn't really play Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on PS1. I kind of remember vaguely playing them or seeing them, but I didn't really get into them. The one that I really got into was Underground Thug 1 and 2. Those ones I really enjoyed, and then playing these ones that were kind of like new games to me. They're obviously very much remastered. Like there's different things, like the menus are different. There's like skater customization stuff that persists between two games. It's just different, but the game itself is super fun. Like I started playing it and didn't stop playing it until I pretty much finished it. It was awesome.
Nice. I love that game. So I'm thinking about maybe getting that game for my brother, because he really, really, really loved those games. So
it's currently on sale, I think, until like a couple days from now. So if you're gonna get on that, you should get on that.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where it's like I have to figure out if I like my brother enough to get it.
Probably not. We played Jackbox. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, we played Jackbox. Synovia. Can I talk about what Synovia had to do a TED Talk on?
Oh yeah.
Sylvia had to do a TED talk on how your ass will save you in an apocalypse, and I think I literally died, went to heaven, came back, and had to continue living my regular life when she said, and I quote, "Take that pool noodle, shove it up your ass, it might save you later." And honestly, hearing Snovia just shout that in like a panic rush is my favorite moment from this whole break, I think. So good.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Sinovia also did she did a couple smoke and burners that one, but yeah, it was fun.
She killed it basically every time we played that.
Yeah, and we played with Reyes and JC. That was a good time. Yeah, no, Jackbox is fun. It's one of those things where, like, we had a few instances where we had like people over or whatever stuff over this vacation, and it was just like, well, shit, we play board games. Like no one's gonna play Cards Against Humanity here. No one's gonna play any of these weirdo, like, you know, have to read instructions and stuff really hard to get into. Like Jackbox is just super good for having people over and just casual stuff. Or we did it online and it still worked.
Yeah, it was very funny. I damn near passed away.
Yeah, it was a good time.
When I laugh really hard, I just stop breathing, and I definitely just stop breathing for a portion of Zenobia's TED Talks each time.
Yeah.
That really cracked me up. Oh my god.
Other video game stuff I did. So told you I beat Tony Hawk's remaster stuff. That was great. I don't know if you remember the game Mafia. It's a series. There's 3 of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
Is
really
Mafia
like,
1 the one that's like The Godfather, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, in like setting and stuff, yeah, it's a fake version of New York. So I don't know, but yeah, they did a remastered version of Mafia 1. I really enjoyed Mafia 2 and 3. I played Mafia 1 when it came out, and I never got far, so because I was 8, so played it again. Really enjoyed that. It was cool. Tried to get into The Saboteur, which is a game from like 2009. It's a Nazi-occupied Paris, and everything is in black and white. And as you take over Nazi strongholds, color comes back into the world. It's super cool. It's super cool. It crashed quite a bit, and I didn't play it a lot, so that was a bummer. That's it for video games. Anything before I move on to not video games?
Of the games you played, which one do you think was the best game?
The best game?
Yes, in your opinion. Either like objectively from like a technological standpoint or like enjoyment. Either one, I'll accept.
Maybe Tony Hawk? I just had so much fun with Tony Hawk. It's like that thing of this game is so simple and it's just getting good at the mechanics. Like you grind and then do tricks and then manual and then lips and then whatever. Like it's all mechanics, and Hades is kind of all mechanics too, and there's a bunch of other stuff. Mafia I really enjoyed, but that's mostly setting and atmosphere and the story and stuff like that. So for me and what I value, I would say Tony Hawk is the best in there.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, I played this when I was playing the Saboteur. I was like, "Fuck, man! No one would make this game now. Games are too expensive. This is so risky. Like this game is in black and white. When you start off, the entire city is occupied, so the entire game is black and white. So in the beginning of the game, when they need to grab your attention the most, it looks the most boring. Maybe that wasn't good for the game, but like it's interesting. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was EA. That was an EA game. Like what the fuck?
From 2009.
Yeah.
They weren't as hungry back then.
I don't know. Well, I guess in a related thing. So we were talking earlier. I finally finished a book. The book was called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by a guy named Jason Schreier, who is the guy I think we talked about before, but he's the guy that he's been exposing CD Projekt Red for crunch basically the past like 2-3 months. He's that guy. So the whole book it's 10 chapters about games. Most of them have come out about basically just how they were developed, how they came to be. So there was Stardew Valley was one of them, Diablo 3, The Witcher 3, just a bunch of games. The most interesting one to me was Star Wars 1313. I don't know if you remember that E3 trailer from like 7 years ago or something like that. But basically it was a really promising looking Star Wars game that everybody was super excited about. And then it got canceled. And it was like a whole thing. So just kind of reading about how that stuff happens, was super interesting. And the reason I brought that up is because of EA, because you said EA was fucking people over or whatever. And EA was the publisher for Dragon Age Inquisition, and Dragon Age Inquisition is in this book, and they talk about kind of the EA-ness of that whole thing, which is pretty interesting. Basically, my takeaway was that EA isn't necessarily the problem. It just comes down to like business reality conflicting with what creative people want to do, and then tooling being a mess constantly. Like reading how games are developed on with a big budget like that, and you think, or I think, like, how the fuck does shit come out broken after 3 years? And then you just realize like everything is just like a tumultuous, chaotic mess. It's like, oh shit, okay, I get that now. Yeah, I don't know. I think like the consistent thing between all the games in that book were that even if it was Stardew Valley and it was like one guy working on a game by himself for a long time, or a team of hundreds of people working on Uncharted 4, there's always this like nothing is finished until like the end. Like things come together, like people, like there's this artistic that comes together, like at the end all these systems come together, and hopefully it's fun. So like one of the things I talked about a few months ago, or maybe a couple months ago, when I was working on that clicker game, was like, oh, this isn't fun. Maybe it'll be fun at some point, and then realizing like it's never fun. It's all just systems coming together. That's all games are, you know?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. It was fun to read a book.
Nice. Did he talk about Hades in that one?
No, that's a book was published a few years ago, so it was before that.
Okay. I was interested because like I don't remember where I saw it. I think the company that made Hades put out a thing where they were like, yeah, like we put out this whole game and like here's kind of like what we did for our employees and stuff, and it was like the exact opposite of CD Projekt Red, where they're like they demanded their employees take like a certain amount of time off per year and stuff like that, and like they gave them like as many holidays as they could, and they didn't want crunch time. They're like, whenever this game is done, it's done. And Hades was like an insane release this year, like a not even like a dark horse, but like a game that came out and like even the video game awards, they were like killing it. So I think it'd be interesting if he comes out with like a second book to that one. He talks about the Hades approach over the CD Projekt Red one. Yeah, well,
one of the interesting things about crunch, like that he mentioned in the Uncharted 4 part, was that basically kind of like what you said I think a couple weeks ago, but to work on games you probably need to be super devoted to games. Like you have to love games, otherwise you would do something else. So the problem that they were describing with Uncharted was that towards the end of the game's release, even though things were mostly done, you can never really be done. Like you can always go add more detail, you can always go make it better. So even at the end of the thing being like, hey guys, you don't have to do this, people would still like, because they're so passionate about the game, they wanted to make sure that all the stitches on his buttons looked correct and stuff like that. And crunch as a necessity is not ideal, but there are some people whose personality is just like, I'm going to kill myself working on this to make it as good as it can be, which I totally get that. So it's kind of hard to say like this is objectively bad and some people want it.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the idea is like if you want to do it, then okay, but I think maybe your employer should put some guardrails around it so you don't die.
Yeah.
Like that's why I said like I thought the Hades approach was interesting. I don't remember like their exact things on there, but they like literally like told people like you have to take time off in the year. You can't not take time off, and you have to take like holidays off, and like they basically like force their employees to have a life outside of work, whereas CD Projekt Red was like, yeah, come in and do your work, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, it's a different thing. Like I think Supergiant I think they're independent, the people who made Hades. And if you're a CD Projekt Red, I'm pretty sure they're a public company. And then like EA is a public company and whatever. When you have that kind of a thing, it's like, well, this happened with Dragon Age 2, according to this book, where I think it was a Star Wars MMO or some shit. Something was supposed to come out on a day or a release window for EA. And then that game missed its date. It got pushed back like a couple years or some shit. So EA went to BioWare. They were like, hey, basically, we need a game to fill in this space here to so we have earnings because we have nothing coming out. So you're going to make Dragon Age 2. Doesn't matter what the game is. It needs to be called Dragon Age 2 within 16 months. That was it. So they had to rush out like this really half-assed game that people hated, and it hurt their reputation. And BioWare today is nowhere near the reputation of BioWare 10 years ago. And it's just because of this whole thing of like the business reality. We have shareholders. They need us to bring in profit. I'm not saying this is good. I'm saying this is the reality. that we need to bring in money at this time of the year to make these people who invested in this company happy. And if we don't, the value of our company will decrease by millions, if not like tens of millions of dollars if we fuck this up. Like that's how the shit works. And at the end, like that, and the idea of like a guy making like his passion project and like, oh, it'll be ready when it's ready, man. Like it'll be a great fucking game someday. Like those don't vibe. You know what I mean?
I wonder how much that is like the independent companies. They literally live and die on whether their game is good, whereas EA is more like people will buy this probably because our name's on it.
Yeah, but then you get there's certainly been stuff that EA has put out that didn't sell well, like the Saboteur didn't hit its marks and they closed down that fucking studio because that's how it has to be. Like it's either making you money or it's losing you money, and that's how it all works. It's just at the scale of something like EA, you lose the ability to say like, oh, we'll push it a month, we'll push it or whatever. Like you can't just do that. You release broken shit and fix it later because at least it released. We made the money from the actual sales of the game to put in this earnings report because everything's fucked.
Yeah, that's rough. I didn't know that stuff like that happened. That's terrible.
The Dragon Age thing is crazy, and it's a bummer because like if you look at EA's kill list of all the companies that they've shut down, there's a bunch of whatever, but Pandemic is one of them. Like they made Mercenaries and they made the Saboteur and they were making
love Mercenaries.
Yeah, they're making cool, interesting shit, and it's like, well, didn't hit our price or didn't hit the whatever target within a certain amount of time of release. So, you know, like we're closing you down. That's crazy.
I literally have never played a game like Mercenaries since Mercenaries.
Have you ever played Shadow of Mordor?
Mm-mm.
It has a system that's not like the 52 card thing, but it's like this hierarchy of orc dudes that you need to bring down, so you kind of need to move up the hierarchy, kind of like that. But yeah, you're right. Nothing really quite like Mercenaries.
I would love for a modern version of Mercenaries.
Yeah,
I'd pre-order a game like that, and I say that having pre-ordered Cyberpunk, which kind of bit me in the ass. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think one thing I'm going to do is just not pre-order games. One, because I have so many games I could be playing instead of new games. But then two, a digital pre-order is clown-like behavior, dude. I'm not going to
I might as well just put the makeup on now, man. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, besides video game stuff, did you have anything before I like fucking go down this crazy stupid list of big... Actually, it's not even that many things anymore.
Listen, we were talking about this in the pre-show, all right? Yeah. I don't understand how cloud computing works. I thought in my head before I attempted to put a website up on the internet with a database and a server behind it that I was like, that's very simple. So many other people have done it. And then I tried to do it and I was like 10 Medium articles in and I was like, I don't know what's going on still. Yeah. And then I literally just fell back on what Joseph had said was a bad approach, but was the approach he keeps taking. And I was like, well, it's good enough for him. He can get Pico de Gallo to run. I can't get a React site to run on a thing that Amazon and Google with their separate services both have like a video on how to do that I followed step by step and it didn't work. And I was like, I don't know anymore what I'm doing. I don't understand how this works. Eventually I got it up there. I just want people to know that if you're a learning engineer or developer or just a casual user of the internet, surprisingly, getting something on the internet is hilariously complicated, it seems like.
Yeah, especially with those tutorials. like if you're just Googling for stuff, you'll find a lot of different approaches to what you're trying to do, and then you'll kind of get led down the wrong path because someone might be recommending using a certain tool or framework or service or something, and you don't really need that. They're just using it, and then you'll think something is what it isn't, and it's super fucking confusing. So good job for piecing together tutorials to get the actual valuable information. That's actually programming.
Yeah. Eventually, listen, it was a lot of failure. I'm not even gonna lie. It was 9 hours of failure and 30 minutes of success is how I would describe it. I literally spent a whole day being like, okay, I did all of their steps and it's not working. Yeah. Okay, I redid all their steps and it's still not working. Somehow, some way, magically, it worked on like the 15th try, and I was just like, well, I'm done for the day then. Like, I'm not gonna ask why it worked. No. It worked good.
It's kind of like if instead of learning C, where you understand memory management and pointers and stuff like that, and understanding how things are kind of working, and instead you just go straight to Python and you import, matplotlib, whatever, something that can just like do something crazy out of the box with 10 lines of code. And then when you need to do something different with those 10 lines of code, you have no fucking idea because you don't understand what they're doing anyway. It's like, it'll get you something, but if you want to get what you want, you need to learn what it's doing,
Yeah. I mean, listen, nowhere do they explain how they do their how a Lambda function in AWS works. I still don't understand like what the base concept is behind that. All I know is that I got a site up and the domain was correct and it worked. And my mom looked at it and she was like, this is a site. And I was like, yes, it is. And it's going to be yours one day. So that was good enough for me.
You were going to use Lambda. You ended up using an EC2 instance and then putting a DNS record for the IP. And then just, yeah. It works. It works for doing,
Well, listen, so many things tripped me up. I was reading the Amazon tutorial and they're like, here's how you use a custom domain. And I was like, well, I have my domain through Google. So okay. And then they're like, here's the domains that we accept. And I was like, okay, cool. I have a .dev. And they're like, we don't accept .dev. And I was like, well, how does Route 53 work without .dev? How do I do this from this point onwards? And they were just like, And I was also like, huh?
Yeah.
A lot of finagling later, I realized that it's just like A records and stuff on your domain host. And I was just like, okay, I don't even know what an A record is. I didn't know that existed, but it works.
Is that a alias record?
I don't know. It's just the capital A and then a space and the word record. And I didn't look up what that meant. I followed a tutorial that's like copy and paste these into here. And I was like, copy and paste these into here. I am a monkey, and they told me what to do, and I'm not going to ask what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's why I dislike a lot of the like Medium stuff is because people will write as like a voice of an authority, like we're going to use jQuery, and anybody who knows is like, what the fuck? Like, don't use jQuery, but everybody's just talking. Everybody's got like an equal voice, which I'm not arguing that's a bad thing. Equal voices are good, but you don't know what's a good one. Yeah.
I followed a bunch until I found one that actually got my site up, and I was like, that's the one, and we're saving that one for later when I have more questions. Maybe they're in an article on something that I'll run into also. Because the Stack Overflow responses were like, LOL, get good. And I was like, I'm not good.
Yeah. Do you think that I was just thinking that might have benefited us because we learned programming before it was so popular with like Medium blogs when you can Google something and get not Medium content, not like
you literally only got Stack Overflow when you Googled questions.
Not even just that. I would often find myself, I still kind of do this, but like just weirdo forums where someone's talking about a very obscure thing in some website I've never seen before, but they have what I'm looking for.
The C# developer forum talks about why objects are better than arrays, and you're just like, I needed this for my class. Perfect.
Yeah. Google, like, I don't know how easy it is to find good intro programming info on Google these days.
I have no idea. I think that, like you said, there's probably a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And also, I think a lot of languages added syntactic sugar to make writing code easier. So it's probably easier to, like, find code that does what you want it to do, and it's probably a lot harder to figure out how that code actually does that thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then it's like the question of do you need to care about how this thing works if you can just do what you need to do with it? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not a programmer.
In JavaScript, knowing what a map does versus using a map gives you a lot more utility, because then you actually understand. I have legitimately lost my mind a little bit because on Stack Overflow, people keep recommending you do a filter than a map when you could just use a reduce function. And I see it everywhere. And it's like, why are you recommending filter than map? That's 2 iterations over an array. That's 2n versus n. You cowards. Be efficient.
Is reduce in the same version of the standard or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know.
No, but people don't use it because they don't understand how it works, and people on Stack Overflow don't. What's funnier to me is the top answer would be like, use a filter and map, and the person's like, wow, it worked, thanks. And like 7 responses later, because all the other ones say filter and map, and then like the bottom response is like, use a reduce function, here's how you would do it, and like +1 check mark or whatever. I'm like, okay. I don't know. I think, like you said, there's just a lot of bad information. I wonder how much bad information I actually read through. Probably a lot. I read like hours of articles. So
I just looked up the documentation for reduce, and that does seem like it makes sense. But I think I was talking to somebody recently, and they were just like, I'm learning JavaScript, and what the fuck? How do you learn anything? Like, do you just Google stuff? And I thought about it. It's like, yeah, you probably just end up on the MDN docs and you find yourself reading on something, but there isn't a good standard way to just start learning that stuff. It's Mozilla documentation, which is like a crowdsource. That's the best. That's the best way.
Is it actually crowdsourced?
I think it's a community-based thing. Sure,
I did not know that. That's incredible. Their documentation has saved my
butt
so many times. You're like, I don't know what this function does. They're like, here's what arguments it takes in. Here's the optional arguments. Here's the required arguments. Here's what the output is. Here's the type of the output. Here's some examples. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, it's really nice. We need more of that kind of stuff for just everything, yeah. Because like Yazeed was saying, and like I was saying before the thing, like I've had 6 years of AWS experience. I don't know shit about setting up a Lambda function for a website. You know what I mean? Like you don't just know things. Like you just have to bang your head against shit till you learn it, which is the reality of this whole thing.
Yeah, my favorite is when people have we actually did talk about this, you and me, like way back before we put out like developer YouTube stuff, where people will put out a thing and they're like, this will be really helpful to people, but then like 4 years will go by and they'll change the service, but they'll never change the YouTube video that they're linking to.
Yeah, the crusty ass YouTube video.
Yeah, I watched the AWS how to set up Amplify video, and I was like, they don't even have these options anymore.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Yeah. And then it's like, well, if this stuff changes, you know, like the AWS UI has changed a few times over the past, 8-10 years or whatever. It's like every time that UI changes a little bit, do we need to redo a video? Because technically this button is over here now, not over here. But it's like the creation of the video is super expensive. So is it even a good idea? Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. Firebase from Google was hilarious because they're like, you only have 2 options here when you're setting up your like Firebase deployment. Mm-hmm. When I tried to use Firebase to deploy, it was like there's 15 options, and I was like, huh? Yeah. I was like, some of these are definitely have to be splits from those 2. They can't all be new. Something in here is I'm gonna be missing, and it's not gonna work. And sure enough, it didn't work. And then I found a Medium blog that was like, this said, don't watch that YouTube video. It was written like the article was written like 4 months ago. They're like, this is step by step what you need to do. And I got it hosted on Firebase, and I was like, amazing. And then I was like, but where do you put secrets? And they were like, LOL, you can't. I was like, like, all right, well, this is gonna go on an EC2 instance from now on.
Yeah, well, I guess you could have some sort of external service and make a call as long as you can make an HTTP call or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking of ways you can get.
Listen, I still have a lot of work to do on that, and because it's not done yet. But I am not looking forward to getting the rest of this stuff set up in AWS.
Yeah.
I legitimately at one point was like, if I just call Joseph, he could probably help me. And I was like, no, he's taking time off. I should respect that. And then literally like 4.5 hours in, I was like, I don't care if Joseph's enjoying his time.
Fuck that guy.
I was like, I'm just gonna call him. And then I was like, no. It was like me. It's like I don't remember if you watched Lord of the Rings, but it was like Gollum and Smeagol. I was like, call him, ask him what how to do. And then the other half of me was like, don't do it. He's just big chillin'.
I haven't seen that movie, but I get the reference. Also, if you ever want to call me, fucking call me. Don't ever not call me.
I call you about serious stuff, not my brain is coming out of my nose because I'm so mad at AWS right now.
Yeah, but still, I always want to talk to you. It's all good. Just call me whenever.
I will no longer respect boundaries with you.
Hell yeah.
Call you at 2:00 in the morning.
I'm ready for it. So one of the other things I tried to get into this week was, I mentioned before the vacation that I wanted to get into lockpicking.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to just learn anything about lockpicking because I think it's an interesting thing to be able to do. And so I have a lockpicking kit, a teach yourself lockpicking kit. And basically, long story short, I picked a lock. I learned how to pick a lock. I have the two little pieces. It's called a tension wrench and then a little lockpick. There's different types of lockpicks. And so I did that. And then I did it with the pins and they all lined up. And then I turned that shit. And I didn't have a key for it. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. But I did it once.
Was it enjoyable?
Yeah, I think it was cool. Just because, so like the lockpick kit that I got, it has 10 different locks. I would guess they're different like difficulties. And there's one particular kind of lock, like I think it's called a key in knob lock, I believe, or something like that. It's basically the cylinder with the pins and stuff. And the practice one I have shows you above the actual cylinder. So if you're looking at the cylinder from the side, basically you can see the side of the key like this, and you look above the cylinder, there's little pins, and they all need to align with the cylinder underneath to like make it so this whole thing can roll, right? Because they're all kind of offset on different weird things, and only the key coming in will make it correct. So lockpicking is essentially just aligning them all yourself while keeping tension on the thing to keep it turned just a little bit so that the ones that you've brought up don't fall back down. And just understanding like that's what's happening when I put a key in. Like, okay, cool. Like that's all I need. And if I ever needed to, for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure I could get a tension wrench and just fucking jam a thing into a door and unlock it. And I could get it done. But I'm not going to have like a lot of finesse to it. Like I'm not lockpicking lawyer. I just wanted to understand what he's even doing. You know what I mean?
The mechanics of it all.
Yeah, which I don't understand anything that he's doing, but I do understand the basic thing with the cylinder lock that I had. Maybe one day I'll try with the level 1 difficulty without the see-through, so I can't see the pins I'm picking, but yeah, it's one day maybe.
What are the odds that you need to get into your house, don't have the key, but have your lock picking set?
Well, I mean, if I just keep my lockpicking set on me like a fucking psycho.
That's illegal. I think it's illegal to have I think so. You're not allowed to just travel the world with your lockpicking set, I don't think.
Bro, it's metal pieces. What are the government can't stop me.
I think I don't think it's like federally illegal. I think it's like most states or cities, because if you are just traveling with it, then you're probably doing something illegal with it, so it is illegal.
What if I'm like a professional lockpicker?
Then you'd be a locksmith and you'd have a license.
I bought this shit on the internet, dude. I don't need anything. It's like, can I buy brass knuckles on the internet? That's illegal, right?
No, it's legal.
I could own brass knuckles?
Yeah.
You can't mail brass knuckles. Is that what it is? You can't like send someone brass. Only reason I'm thinking is because EA a long time ago for The Godfather 2 had a promotional thing where they sent out press kits to journalists, and in the press kit was a set of brass knuckles, which I guess was illegal. They couldn't do that.
I think you can't include a weapon in promotional material, would be my guess.
That's so specific.
I don't think it's illegal to just have brass knuckles.
But
Oh, no, you're right, because it's illegal to just have a baseball bat in your car. You have to have a baseball mitt and a ball with you if you're going to just drive around with a baseball bat.
I don't think it's illegal to have, I'm not a law guy, but I don't think it's illegal to have a baseball bat in your car. I think it's I think it makes you look shady. I think if you were like, hanging out by someone's house outside of their, like, in their driveway, and then a cop was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then also you had a bat in your backseat, they would look at those things combined, but the bat is not illegal.
I think that it gives them
probable cause.
Yeah, there we go. I think it's probable cause, and they can like search your car and stuff.
You already see the bat. What are you looking for?
Huh?
You already see the bat. What are you looking for?
Well, like, what else do you have in your car? Like, are you a person? And then they'll like do your background check and stuff. But I think it's you if you do have I was told that if you ever drive around with a baseball bat in your car as self-defense, keep a baseball mitt and a baseball as well.
I told you that because I read that on Reddit. But I don't
yeah, Joseph, my man.
I'm
literally just rehashing the information you gave me.
Well, no, because I think it's just because it's not illegal by itself. That's what I'm saying. If you had a baseball bat in your car and you, let's say, went to the Tucson Mall and some motherfucker ran up on you and you had to put him down, you know what I mean? Yeah. It would be better if you also had a baseball glove in your back seat, so that way you could be like, officer, I was gonna go to the park and I just so happened to have this baseball bat to defend myself. You know what I mean? Otherwise it looks like you're just beating motherfuckers up with a baseball bat. You look bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you just look it up?
I did just look it up.
Great.
But of course, when you're trying to read all of this, it's confusing.
Yeah, I don't think we can become proper law analysts in this short time, so we could probably just move on. I just wanted to learn lockpicking, I guess. That's all. While Yazeed is clearly deep in some information.
Okay, listen, this is anecdotal evidence from somebody who I don't know. Says, in I admittedly anecdotal evidence or experience, you are better off with a pistol, at least where allowed by law, than with a baseball bat. I don't know. This is after like a wall of text that I don't have time to read. So I don't know if he's saying effectively or if he's saying legally you're better off with a pistol than a baseball bat. But I know you're also not supposed to keep a gun in your car, not because it's illegal, but because of the number of guns that enter illegal circulation from people breaking into cars.
Brother, you could definitely have a gun in your car.
No, I'm not saying it's not illegal to do that. You're recommended not to keep a gun in your car, like when you're not in the car, because
yeah, but fuck a recommendation. This is America, dude. If I can do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. From Reddit, they say that it is not illegal to have a baseball bat in your car because it's not considered a weapon. But I don't know if that's true everywhere. Like I said, it's probably like a city and state level, even like maybe a county level. I don't know.
I have no idea. All I know
I don't think federally they were like, you cannot legally drive with a baseball bat in your car.
I do know that we don't have a constitutional right to baseball bats, so maybe it is best we just strap the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Are you telling me America's pastime is not
in the Constitution? You're right. Yeah.
The Lord-given Constitution.
That is what I'm saying. Very briefly,
I American communist.
Yeah, you got me.
Continue.
I made Japanese milk bread and it came out like shit.
How was your fruitcake?
I didn't make it. I made milk bread instead.
Chicken out.
Well, no, I basically I don't plan well, and I was like, oh, I'll get the ingredients for the fruitcake at some point, and I bought all the fruit, but then I was missing one other ingredient. Like it's dried fruit, it's not fresh fruit.
This man had all the fruit but didn't have eggs.
No, like we were missing a couple ingredients, and I was like, oh, I'll figure it out eventually. And then vacation happened, and I hit a vibe, and I just didn't go back to the fruitcake, and that's okay. But the milk bread I made yesterday, that was big trash. That was shit. That wasn't good. It was very dense.
Did Synovia watch you make the milk bread?
She actually technically helped me make the milk bread because yesterday I was grilling. I had the grill for dinner. I didn't have the grill for dinner. I was on the grill for dinner. You know, I was making dinner. And Synovia, like timing wise, my bread was about ready when I was outside. So Synovia helped me proof some of the dough. So technically, yeah.
So it was a combined failure.
Yeah.
In my head, listen. I'm sure Synovia fails at baking, like almost as often as she succeeds.
She never
just because
does.
like that's the process of learning. But in my head, Zenobia has never once messed up on anything that she's ever baked ever.
Yeah, she's flawless. She's never made a mistake.
That's it. That in my head, that's how I think of Zenobia's baking, and which makes me feel bad when I try to bake and it's like, it's still running on the inside.
Yeah, I kind of had that pressure in the beginning. The way that this milk bread is made is that you make a combination. It's called like Shang. I keep saying Shang Tsung. That's not what it is. It's Mortal Kombat. It sounds like that word. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's
it's like Kung Lao, you know.
I don't know what it's called, but it's a certain type of thing. So it's bread flour and water, and you cook it up and you make it into a goop basically, and that becomes like a base of the dough that you make. And I think there's a lot to that goop, so I kind of fucked it up, and I didn't cook it as long as I should have because it was a little watery. And then what else? Towards the end, the proofing was weird because it was like 65 degrees in the house, so it wasn't quite warm enough for everything to rise as much as it should have. So it came out dense and shitty, but the flavor's fine. And it's like just like bricks of very heavy bread. So if you want to get very full, hit me up, dude. I got extras. It's like an entire loaf's worth of bread in like a very condensed little fist-sized thing.
Do you remember when we were in college, the student union used to sell like 600-calorie slices of chocolate or banana bread or whatever?
I used to sell something? I don't think I sold anything in college.
No. You didn't. The student union, they would sell the like hilariously calorie dense bread. It would be like 2.5 meals on its own, and I used to eat them. Yeah. That's how I imagine your thing is. It's like crazy dense calorie one.
I think it really is. There's so much flour, and it's like enough flour to make loaves, like proper loaves of bread. It was like 600 grams of flour in this fucking thing. Like half a goddamn bag of flour. And it made 6 pieces of bread. Like 6 chunks of... That's 100 grams of flour.
So man just made bricks of flour. Just calling it bread.
It's supposed to be very airy, and it didn't get the airy, so it's just very...
Oh my god.
Here, I'll show you through the thing, but that's what it looks like. Oh, that looks like shit. You can't see it. It's so dense. The point is that it's so dense. Like, in the video that I made, the whole point is that you're supposed to be able to take the bread, you push down on it, and it springs back up. That's like the whole thing. It's that fluffy. I did mine. Stayed there. It just gooped down. It was rough.
Oh, this man literally just baked bricks. Eat them. This man made like World War I trench food that'll like keep a soldier running for a whole day. He's like, yeah, I ate the same. I wasn't hungry for 3 days.
Yeah, when Zenobia tried it, she was like, flavor's good. Like, fuck, I fucked up.
My friend told me this about babies. He was like, if you ever like show somebody your baby and they say like, how cute, that means the baby's cute. If they say like, oh, it's a baby, it means your kid's like super ugly. That's the equivalent for your bread. She was like, oh, the flavor is good. It's like, oh, it tastes good, but the rest is absolute garbo.
Yeah. It's the 4th ugly baby God. I've made. I made it. It came out good once. The first time I ever tried making this bread, it came out good. The other 3 times, it's been really shitty. But I like it a lot, so I want to make it again.
If you and Snowy ever have a kid, I want you to know that if I ever say, oh, it's a baby, I'm just messing with you. I have to put a disclaimer in there because I definitely do that to Trevor. Like every time I see his kid, I'm like, oh, it's a baby. And he's the one who told me that. And every time he gives me this look like, I know that you know that I'm mad. Oh, God.
Let me look at my list. Yeah, I pretty much, that's it. I signed up for a Coursera course on audio engineering, and it's boring as shit. I don't know if I'll finish it, but I'm trying to get better at editing the podcast and stuff. So I figured the whole like learning fundamental stuff. This dude's talking about math. I don't give a fuck. He's like, if I whisper into this water bottle and then I drink some of the water and I whisper into the water bottle, the whisper sounds different. That's because, and then he shows you this crazy ass math, and he's like, and wavelengths and frequencies and shit. I'm just like,
This man is just the Dr. K of audio engineering.
Yeah, but I just want to make your mic sound not so shitty. I don't care about.
There's a really easy way for me to do that. Is I just put some money down and I buy a better mic.
That's the thing that kills me, is that I have a better mic. I bought so many mics, and I'm the only one that uses. Like JC has one of my mics, and then that's still at his house, and then I still have your mic here, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. It makes me sad as the guy who has to listen to the audio, and it's like your voice echoing off your walls.
Listen, I don't call this place the echo chamber for nothing.
It's okay.
The other problem, legitimately, is I just get loud when I get excited, and that creates a lot of echo. Like, I see the spikes when I get really loud, and I know in my head, I'm like, whoever's listening to this, I'm so sorry.
It's
but
fine.
At the same time, one of the things that I find funniest on the internet is legitimately when somebody gets so loud, their mic just turns into static, and then it goes back down. Like, I like... This is like really anecdotal. Yeah. I like there's like a subreddit for it. It's huskies, like the dog huskies that throw tantrums, and they make some of the funniest noises I've ever heard in my life. But they just get so incredibly loud that people's mics like get all staticky. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't think we've had a husky moment with you yet, but we'll see.
No. I almost did get a husky. When I went actually to go and get Sapphire, I was supposed to meet a husky named Zoe. And they accidentally, when I showed up, they're like, so we messed up. That dog got adopted before we had that phone call where I told you to come in and meet her. And I was like, This is like during COVID. Yeah, this is like during COVID too. And they were like,
it's still during COVID.
I know, but yeah. So they were like, we're going to help you find a dog while you're here. And I was like, cool.
Yeah.
And I met her.
Well, it all worked out.
Did I tell you about the poodle at our obedience class?
I don't think you did.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
There's a poodle in the obedience class that we go to. My dog hates that poodle, and that poodle hates my dog, and there's like a weird tension now between me and the dog owner of the poodle, because we both know if we ever weren't paying attention, our dogs would go after each other 100%.
So you mean that your dog would kill their dog because that's a poodle?
No, a poodle is huge compared to Sapphire.
A poodle?
A standard poodle is a lot bigger than my dog.
Your dog is huge. It's like a mutant poodle at your training thing.
No, poodles are large. You've probably seen a mini poodle. A standard poodle is like quite a bit bigger.
Is there a macro poodle?
No, there's two different sizes of poodle, but a standard poodle is a lot bigger.
Fucking things. Yeah, but like it's got a Swiffer on its tail. You know, your dog will probably take it. Is what I'm saying.
Honestly, I think there is a chance my dog would, regardless of size, be willing and able to take on most other dogs, but I don't want to test that because I would have to pay for vet expenses.
Well, obviously,
for one or two dogs, depending.
They don't actually test that, but no. I don't know. Just like fight the owner, get it over with. Maybe the dogs will see.
You just walk up to the lady and just hit her in the face.
Oh, it's a lady. Never mind. Don't do that.
Just punch her in the face. And tell her that's for bringing your poodle to the obedience school that my dog doesn't like. But they both it's so weird. They both of them will lock up. And you see, I see when Sapphire locks up, all of the muscles in her chest and forearms, tense up, and she's just yeah, check it out. It's like two bodybuilders doing a show. It's very funny.
Nice. I still don't think that your dog would like my dog, and that's okay.
I don't think my dog knows how to interact with any other dog. She's very weird about other dogs, but I would like to get another dog, so it's a work in progress. I'm slowly fixing her one problem at a time. First it was cars, then it was people. Now it's being without me. Next is bathing, because right now she's afraid of water being sprayed at her. And then will be dogs. It's a process.
You should get 2 more dogs. Name one of them Ruby, and the other one Emerald, and you'll have the full set. And then just for fun, get a hamster, name it Rayquaza, just to kind of, because Pokemon.
Oh my god!
Pokemon
I actually
Emerald,
do think if I get to name the dogs, I'm gonna name them in gems. So I was thinking like Ruby, Quartz, Jade, Emerald.
Emerald Lagasse.
Emerald.
Full name of my dog is Emerald Lagasse. That's so fucking stupid, but I think it's so funny. Okay. Homegames.
When you said that, it immediately started laughing is what got me. Also, like, what a reference.
Emerald Lagasse.
You should get, listen, I'm telling you right now, you need to get another dog named Salt, and then a third dog named Emerald Lagasse, and then a fourth dog named Bam, and then just be like, a little Salt, a little Pepper, Bam, Emerald Lagasse, where you at?
Oh, that's so stupid. Okay, are you ready to go to home game stuff?
Yeah.
That's the name of this episode, by the way, Emerald Lagasse. It was gonna be a combined failure or whatever you said earlier, but that's fucking hilarious to me. Okay, did you want to go through some home game stuff?
Listen, I think what I'm going to talk about is going to end up encompassing quite a bit about what you're going to talk about. So maybe I should go first. Okay, so on the last podcast, not the one that I was on, the one that you did with Synovia, you talked a lot about like the goals that we had set at the beginning of last year and how completely like off the scale wrong we were, and like we were way off, and basically we set goals and then never
we had goals for the
like looked at them again.
Yeah, that too. We had goals in the podcast, and we had kind of looser goals with the software stuff, so we didn't really follow up on them because we didn't have really strong goals in the first place.
Yeah, so I basically just wanted to talk about like obviously last year's goals were complete garbo. This year's goals, I think we should work on improving them. I mean, I think for me this year, my goal will be to put out one game per quarter. So once every 3 months, I'd like to put a game into home games.
Yeah.
That means clearing the pull request process and everything. So I want on December 27th, I want to have had 4 games enter home games.
Okay, it's a very specific date.
Well, I don't want to do home game stuff the 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. I want some time where I'm just like big chilling, you know?
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that seems to work with what I think, because people might think that we talk about home games outside of this podcast, but we really don't.
Hilariously, Joseph, I barely talk on
We barely talk out, yeah. And it's tough. That's actually a thing, like doing a podcast with a very close friend, and it feels like if you actually talk to them daily, you like lose content for the which is really weird. So like kill the friendship. I don't even know this guy anymore, you know. But my whole goal was basically to not work on any games. And so if your goal is to work on nothing but games, and that sounds fucking perfect. My whole thing was that realizing, just need to work on the tools and the systems and stuff. So I have kind of goals for the year that hopefully go with yours.
Yeah, one of the things that you, I don't know if you mentioned it or Synovia mentioned it, but one of you were basically like, one of us should probably make games, and that would like show us what we're missing. So I think if like I'm making games, I could help you with some of the issues that I run into, but also we'd have games.
Yes.
Which I think is a win-win in that regard. And the other side of it too is like, I had a conversation with somebody who I don't work with or know at all, really.
Is this Cyberpunk?
No, I was playing League of Legends and I accidentally invited somebody on my friends list that I don't know who they are or why they're on my friends list. And then we ended up getting into a Discord call, and then we ended up talking about programming because they're also a software engineer. Okay. And anyway, 2.5 hours later, I left with an interesting thought, because he was talking like he's a manager, and he was saying like, how does he build an ideal team? And I said, I think the best possible team of engineers is you have a star engineer and then you have somebody who can support that engineer really well. And between the two of us, you're the star engineer, which means that I just have to be able to support you really, really well. And I think that you are better at making the Homegames system than I'll be. And I can help you by making games that rely on that system and point out stuff that I need that maybe you didn't think about, or changing slightly the things that you did make so that it fits easier with making the game. The manager engineers, that's not a great approach, but I think that is the ideal approach for a team of engineers.
I
where
can
you
trust
have like a star
playing League of
and then a
Legends.
support person, and then you have your like B tier, right?
Yeah.
You have like your main star, and you have your support person, and then everyone else is like, they're the D-list celebrities, all right?
Well, I'm sure from an actual manager's perspective, having someone being like the designated bitch boy is like not a good look for morale. So I get that if like an actual manager, and the thing of like you and me are working on this and it's just me and you working on this, then it's like maybe it makes more sense. But like designated bitch boy is not.
No, it's not that. What I mean by like a person who can support somebody isn't just somebody who like is like subordinate to that person. It's also somebody who knows their like personality and like what frustrates them and what doesn't frustrate them. So like I know if I'm gonna say something to you, because we've been friends for so long, I'm not gonna say it in a mean way. Like I know how to tell you, hey, I think you did this incorrectly, without being like, you suck butt. Although I might just say you suck butt as a joke. But like I think the supportive person isn't just like technically supportive, but it's also like interpersonally supportive. But their reaction wasn't that it was bad in terms of morale. It was bad because you're basically paying somebody to not be the best engineer on your team a lot of money because they're very good at supporting your best engineer.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure if it was like a designated like support thing and you were kind of like a engineer's secretary, that'd be kind of weird. But that's what I'm saying. It's kind of different for us because this is not for money. This is not a business. This is not a thing. Like this is barely a real thing. So if it's just the two of us, I don't really like the role thing. But I do think last year we realized that like basically I have familiarity with the system. So I worked a lot on the system, and I make what I call games, but really they're just tests for me to check that one particular part of the system still works. Something like a layer or a microphone or audio or images or clicking or whatever, but they're all for very specific things. None of them are intended to be games for people to actually play. They're really supposed to be for me to test and for developers to get a point of reference. So I don't make games, and then you actually did make Square. Like that's a game. So that we kind of found those roles for ourselves, but it was nice because again, we don't have money or pressure or anything here, so it kind of just happened. So I think now that that's kind of more solidified, I think what you're saying makes sense. Like you make games, help me make the system better, but I think at this point I have a huge list of things I know I need to make the system better. And so kind of you being the it just makes sense, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think they fit our roles well.
Yeah.
So I think this will make things a little bit smoother also. So I don't know. So my goal this year is just to come up with 4 games. I don't have a 4th game idea. I have a 3rd game idea, but I have no idea for a 4th game yet.
Creative powerhouse over here, this guy.
Yeah. Well, I know. Okay, I have to finish Color Tag. I need to finish who tweeted that tweet. I know what I'm going to do for the walkie-talkie game because I think it'll be hilarious to do. Basically, I want to do like I want to make a game that's like live interactive almost. So I want people that like play it at night, turn off all the lights in their house with their walkie-talkies, and play hide and seek. Basically.
Okay. That could be cool.
That's what I want it to do, basically. I think it'd be super funny to do it that way.
Yeah, and you can add stuff onto the game to make it kind of more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the game with the walkie-talkie is supposed to be helpful. Like I want people to have to do to scream into their mic and like record that, and then when they get caught, they die, and then a little scream happens, and they have like a little objectives to do, and then they have like secret object. Anyway, long story short, that game is going to be less about like code intensive and more about how creative I can be with getting people to run around their house in the middle of the night. Yeah. Also, side note, I thought about this while thinking about that game. We may need to come up with a disclaimer for games like that, to be like, hey, we're not responsible if you break your toe in the middle of the night while you're running around your house in the dark because we suggested you do that. Maybe don't hurt yourself playing our games.
Yeah, I think that's been an ongoing thing of what do we need to do legally? That's the whole question.
Yeah,
because we have no idea. So we'll figure that out, I think, once we
have a lawsuit.
Yeah, once someone sues us, we'll get on figuring what that means. Yeah, but I think so last year we didn't really have a lot of systems in place outside of the core technology. We didn't have a lot of the stuff that I built kind of in the last few months of last year. And so realizing that these are services that we provide now that I pay money for, essentially, we are becoming like a software thingy, like a software service provider on some level, on top of just the core libraries that we provide to like make games and run games, because the certifier service needs to be up to run that stuff. Homegames.link needs to be up for people to access it easily. And DNS records need to be created by our service to make sure that that stuff actually works for your certificates. And it's a whole process. Like, there's a bunch of stuff, and that costs us money, and that costs us stuff. So my point is, these are things that we provide, but we are not a legal entity. We are just two dudes. So I think at some point, once I get a really good idea of what we're actually like building on like holistically, then we can kind of go to a law person and say, this is what we're doing. This is kind of our vision. Did we fuck up? What do we do?
Yes.
Yeah. But I have some kind of bullet points that I wanted to mention, because I spent a lot of time thinking about home game stuff. Did not touch a single line of home games code the entire time. But some things I think we might want in the future, which is kind of what I'm saying, this whole holistic thing. Why don't we just go through this bullet point list, or like?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, my whole deal was like, I thought in the last episode where you and Snow were talking about like the goals that we set and failed, and like how we needed to set better goals. I was like, that is very true.
Yeah.
So I spent time thinking about like kind of like where I see myself in like doing home game stuff, and then also like where I can be of value. And I think the best place for me is to make games. So
yeah, for sure. And like you could still, for sure, contribute to the core stuff if you.
I think I have to at some point, right? Because you can't possibly. I can't be like, hey, here's an issue, fix it so I can put out a game in 2 weeks. I have to be able to be like, I need to put this in the thing. But I don't think I should be like, well, we're gonna add in geolocation to this thing.
That would actually be a really cool one. So when you said doing tasks as the walkie-talkie hide and seek thing. I always thought it'd be really cool to do something to have, even if it's not accurate in terms of like absolute numbers, to know like your exact lat long, as long as we have relative positions that are accurate for everybody, and say like, okay, we think that they're in a circle in the middle of the street, but we know they're in a circle. I don't really care about the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, just know where they are in relation to each other. So then you can do kind of interesting stuff like that, like move to the left of this person, move south of this person, go here with it. Like, you can only do this if you're, you know what I mean? Like positional awareness of your devices.
Yeah, if we had that for the walkie-talkie game, it'd make the seeker's job a lot easier. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't really know if it would work, because I just know that the accuracy of the devices and stuff, the GPS in there is not great.
Also, like if everyone's in like an apartment, I imagine it'd be too small of an area anyway. Even on like, you'd have to get like so granular in terms of lat long. It wouldn't be valuable.
Well, because that stuff is fine. Like the actual lat longs, like you can get like 12 digits on that shit. It'll know pretty precisely. But the thing is, I think Wi-Fi makes the GPS stuff more accurate. In my experience, that's been the case. So being on Wi-Fi would certainly help. And in a home game scenario, I think they would be most of the time, because you wouldn't do unless you did, where you had a service to connect externally. But anyway, doesn't matter. It would be a mostly Wi-Fi thing. But that's what I'm saying. Even if we don't know, like even if we get your lat long wrong, as long as we fucked up your lat long in the exact same way that we fucked up the person next to you's lat long, then they're still next to each other. They're just wrong numbers. But we still know they're next to each other. Anyway, that would be interesting. That's kind of one of the things I wanted to think about looking into, but not really anytime soon. Okay. So I'm just going to go through this list. Some of them are kind of big, so we can come back to them, but I'm just going to read them. So the first one is stable/nightly builds. Nightly is in quotes. Second thing is a donation button, which is huge. I'm going to talk later. Dev accounts. The UI scaling is another one. The other thing is spectators, built-in spectator stuff. The other one is mobile apps, iOS and Android. Next one is built-in social media API integration. Then client types, knowing capabilities and info of certain things that connect to the server. Performance profiling, which is we talked about in March, I think. And minimum specs to go along with kind of our performance profiling stuff. Save games /unlocks/achievements, essentially anything that needs to persist. Stuff like that, kind of the meta around the game. And then how it works videos. I think the tutorial stuff that we do, it's I really like the long form content, but I want a like series of here's this system, here's Homegames, and here's all these systems, and here's like a 30-second or like 60-second explanation. Here's what this thing is. Here's how it works. So you can build up all the pieces and kind of get a view of the whole system through these really quick informational things and that whole stuff. So yeah, that's the list. Do any of these things stand out to you as interesting?
Like almost all of them.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with the thing I think is maybe least interesting to me personally.
Wow.
So when you say like the social media API integration, are you saying like you can share this game on Facebook? Are you thinking like something else?
No. So I was thinking of your Who Tweeted That Tweet game and how you're building the Twitter API integration essentially yourself for just your game. But if the whole thing with Homegames is that there's social games, everybody's probably on social media. I mean, I totally get the thing where it's like, fuck your Facebook like button and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, people who play games with their friends probably also want to hook up their social media shit to add that stuff into the games. Like that's what you're doing with the Who Tweeted That. I think it's a great idea. And I think other developers would want to do that in the future. So I think as a feature of Homegames for developers, we should have built-in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever API integration. All you do is provide your key, but all the guts that make that shit work, we just have out of the box.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the problem with that though is that as we add the social media, like you or me would have to do that and get that working. Yeah. So we'd have to have like you and I are gonna have to like a ton of developer accounts.
Well, we just need like an interface between the developer and the actual APIs that we're allowing them to call through Homegames, because we still probably should gate what's allowed in these APIs. Like we need to do something, otherwise.
I see what you mean. So like what I did with the Twitter integration was I created my developer account, which is what I was using, and that one has access only to read information. So I guess we could put in like requests. Maybe what we should do is next episode we take this list plus my stuff and we go over this again. Sure. Yeah. In like great detail. Like maybe we take like a couple, like the ones like if you priority ordered this of what you're gonna like, the order you want to tackle it in, not necessarily you're going to. And
are you trying to PM this whole thing, Yazeed? Because I am not down for project management.
I mean, I think I have to, because looking at this list is like, yeah, basically I wanted to do like 2 years worth of development in this year, it seems.
Yeah, well, not all of these are super urgent. These are just things I think I want to do this year. I don't know how long these things will take. I don't know if I'll be on one of them for 6 months. I really don't know. This is just the stuff I thought was like, oh, that'll be important.
Yeah, so, I do agree. I think for when you say dev account on here, are you saying that there's going to be like a developers thing? Or?
The bullet point for yeah. So it says dev account. So we had we had the conversation a long time ago about how do we make sure that someone isn't putting like illegal shit or weird shit into their game without us really like knowing. Like, how do we make sure that their assets are theirs? How do we make sure that whatever? And this is probably the most legal thing that I think we're going to have to do. But we're going to need a way to manage these assets, because if someone has an image and someone has a whatever, I'm not just going to, we can't just accept a link.
Butthole.
What?
You can accept it's like a high-risk butthole.
A high-risk butthole. But like, so right now at the moment, the asset constructor takes a URL, and that URL can be anything. You could give us a Google link. You can give us anything that's publicly accessible over HTTP, and the asset will load and be cached and all that kind of stuff. That's crazy, because anybody can give us any link, stuff that they don't own, and if that service or if that other thing goes down, then that asset's just broken for the time being, and we have no ownership over it. And also, the game developer putting the asset in their game like implies that they're allowed to use it. It's just kind of weird. So I was thinking we would have some sort of way for a developer to, and I don't even know if this needs to be separate. It could just be you sign up for a Homegames account and you automatically have a developer account, in the sense that you have developer tools available that you don't have to use, which I think I like more. But so someone signs up, they say, I want to develop a game, and we say, okay, well, what's your game called or whatever, and then you kind of create this Homegames profile of the game that you're making associated to your account. This profile that this thing has, this metadata with all this other assets and linking and stuff associated, needs to be associated to the game that you're making. That way, when you reference assets, you're referencing assets that like we manage and we store probably through some Homegames asset service, which is another thing we'd have to build. But basically, someone provides us the everything, right? Like the images, the movie, anything they would need, and all their assets. And then those assets would be URLs like media.homegames.io/ID. And then those would be the assets referenced in the game, because we know that you uploaded that through our thing to here. We can track all this stuff, and it was you. Like, you said you own this. To me, legally, that seems to be what we need to do, right? Like to associate.
I mean, as long as we have a media consent, like as they're uploading, we have to be like, yo, you do agree that you have the like rights to do this. Because my company that I work for had that, and a lot of our people were getting sued because the people who were uploading into there sometimes were uploading not their legal property.
Yeah.
Like they were uploading stuff they found on Google or whatever, which is illegal.
And those assets would be stored and served by us, which would essentially make us like, it's a whole thing. That's what I'm saying.
We're
like,
a service. We're a DAM at that point, a digital asset manager.
Or we're an S3 bucket, but whatever.
Well, that's like underlying, yes, but like a digital asset manager, I think we would be responsible for stuff like that.
Yeah. Like
if somebody pushed, I don't know, the soundtrack to the B movie,
right,
or they pushed the entire B movie into Homegames, I think we're responsible if we're providing that to other people.
I really don't know. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Like
either.
This whole kind of like fuzzy, oh fuck, we're gonna need a media server, that kind of stuff like doesn't come up until you realize it needs to be there, and then it's like, oh shit, there's legal problems that come up with that, and oh fuck, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, I'll get like a legal Zoom consultation or some shit and be like, is this okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what the developer account thing was.
I see. Okay, now I think the stable builds make the most sense of like, you're just gonna make sure Pico de Gallo is always running on like the stable, and then there'll be like a developer version under it, I assume. Yeah.
So kind of just generally speaking, part of the whole thing, but in order for developers to use this stuff, it needs to be you need to trust us, like individually as the people who do this. You need to have faith in like the tools and the system, that everything will continue happening, and you need to be able to use tools in a way that don't frustrate you. Like, we need to make it appealing to for people to use. And I think in order to make something appealing for people to use, you need to have the ability to quickly iterate. So like the ability for me to quickly create a pull request, have it merged, and then have a build of that thing as a product. Like this continuous deployment thing, whatever, that whole thing that we talked about, or continuous whatever the fuck. Some sort of pipeline as code is deployed. And I think we talked about that last year, and it wasn't super big in my head because it wasn't there yet, but realizing now like we need to quick cycle stuff. So as a part of this, we should probably have a thing to just push builds automatically of like latest change to master, made this build, it's the nightly build. You could download it as soon as it's pushed. And then this other thing is a stable build that we mark as stable and say, okay, this is whatever. And then having those things deployed as demos. So you can see here's Pico de Gallo. Here's a demo of Homegames. This is the stable version. Here's a button to download this yourself, to run it yourself. One day it's here's a button to pay us money, so we'll serve it for you. Then the other one will be here's our busted ass nightly build. Joseph just pushed this hot ass garbage. You can play it right now. And we should have both of those things, I think, because the nightly build thing is letting people know like shit happens. Like we just kind of it just moves slow to get things final. So
maybe we should go with stable and beta, because I know like developer speak is latest makes sense, but
yeah.
Maybe for a mad casual, they're gonna be like, oh well, I definitely want the latest version of this, and then they open it up and it's like,
yeah,
nothing works.
Goatee JPEG on top of the layer test.
Yeah, maybe we do call it stable and beta as opposed to nightly and stable, or latest and stable. I know like Node calls it latest and stable, but maybe we should move away from that a little bit.
We could figure out the naming for that, but I just think that's super important to like if people from the start when they go to homegames.io they're thinking what the fuck is this, and then we say hey here's what this is, download demo links info, like everything that you would want to see is here. So that was that one.
Right on. And the last one, the donation button,
brother. So okay, I was thinking another thing for developers to maybe be incentivized outside of just learning. But if you've ever seen buymeacoffee.com, it's just a link people can put on their website, and it's just a quick $3, $5, $10, whatever donation to people. Developers will do that on their blogs or whatever. So if we had sort of a built-in functionality for a developer to say, here's my account, right? You already have your developer account. And then we can say, what's your, I don't know, your PayPal account, whatever, some payment processing company, right? Where we can associate that whole thing, and built in on a system level, like on it's a consistent thing like the home button. I don't know how you would say it, but in that sort of way, we would have a button to donate money to the developers who made that game, where it would be like a buy me a coffee thing, but standardized across all of them. So it's like, yes, you can put up your game and you don't have to make money. You don't have to allow people to donate. But if you've associated some sort of thing to your account, people can donate by clicking this button. And maybe one day that becomes an actual thing, and then we take a cut. That's how we sustain this or whatever. But I was just thinking about how to monetize this without advertising, and how to monetize this without like a Kickstarter, or not a Kickstarter, Patreon. A Patreon I think is cool. I just don't know. I don't really have faith that people are going to be like, yeah, I'll just give you money for doing things. Like I don't have faith in that stuff. I don't have.
So you're saying we start an OnlyFans?
Yeah, if you're willing to, get a little weird, in the camera, it's all good. No, but yeah. So I just think, and then kind of like maybe in the Humble Bundle way of saying, here's the split by default. It'd be like 90-10 game developer home games, but maybe you can slide it within some sort of threshold. So like minimum 10 of on each, but you can move it to 50-50 or 80-20 or whatever you want, something like that. Just thinking that, and this is obviously not a thing anytime soon. So, but it's just once we have all these tools and these systems, how do we make people want to build something? I'm trying to think of someone who's like, oh well, I would learn this, but I don't give a fuck. Or like, oh well, I would learn this, and it does seem like it'd be fun to build this game to play with my friends, but I couldn't make any money off of it. But it's like, okay, well, if we build that like a sequence for you to be able to do that, then maybe you get in on the ground floor thinking you'll be a millionaire from your donations or whatever.
I mean, it's part of what made Roblox so successful.
What? I don't know much about Roblox.
you could like basically like you could make paid content in Roblox,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people are making stuff in Roblox. Like you can play Halo in Roblox.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. We need the profit motive for the people who go super, super hard and like really want to do some impressive shit, because that's how you get people to care about your thing. Realizing that like this is becoming okay, so yeah, it just becomes like a game platform, right? You think we have like hundreds of games, whatever. Someday, my question here is, what does the UI look like with 1,000 games? And realizing that the dashboard as it is doesn't handle that well. It would just be scrolling for 1,000 games, which is not good. So maybe adding in this thing to the dashboard of searching and maybe tagging games or grouping them by things. So maybe you can search by author, group by author. Maybe having a set of predefined tags where I would be able to do something at just right now, thinking of what tags we would have, is like a game versus test tag. So I can go to the dashboard, click tests, see all of my bullshit, click games, and see all of your stuff. It's at least more accessible in that way, but it doesn't really solve the thing, because if we have like a game marketplace at a certain point with 1,000 games available to you, which I know this is not happening, but like one day, if it ever did, what would we do? So we would need a search, we would need a filter, we would need these things to do that, this metadata to search and filter on. So
and listen, if I make 4 games a year for 10 years, it's 40 games. So I'll have 41 games. Where does that money go? Do I get it, or does Home? No, I'm kidding. Actually, it is kind of a question of like, does Homegames internally made games still have the donate button, and does that money just go into Homegames, or do we not even worry about that?
I guess. Well, at the moment, there's none of this stuff exists. So at the moment, it would be like, we would need to migrate all this stuff into the new system. So we would need to be able to say Square is Yazeed's game. There's no dispute there. I'm not gonna it's on camera. That's Yazeed's game. But yeah, so we would then I guess you would have a developer account, and we would associate that game to your developer account, and then I would have my tests and put them there. I think the donate button should be standard. I think it should be everywhere in the same place for every game always, because it's like in the same way that a home button is always there. You can always go home. It's a part of the thing. If you have a donate button, it's like, I know that this system allows me to give this person money. And if you go to one and you find out it's not there, you'd be confused. So I think even if it's a bullshit ass thing, that button should be there. If someone wants to pay you money for your bullshit, like that's early access. You know what I mean? Like it exists today, kind of.
Basically, I was asking, like, if it is like a Homegames internally game, right? Like, games I make really aren't made. Games I make aren't really made by me, right? Like, I'm a part of the Homegames development team, so anything I make is really just a part of Homegames, isn't it?
Well, so I was thinking the developer account would have some sort of payment thing associated to it. So if we were a proper LLC, you and me, and we were not the Homegames dudes also, or I guess we could still do this if we were, I don't know, but we, the LLC, would set up a payment account thing, associate that payment account thing to the developer account of Homegames. So we both get paid, however, through the company that we're getting paid through, not just individuals or whatever. But if it is just an individual, not a company doing the game, then they can just put their own personal stuff there.
Yeah, because I was going to say it'd be kind of weird if it was like I do this podcast where I break down how I'm making the game as official home game content, but also people are tipping me like $4 to do that.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, if someone likes your thing and wants to give you money for your thing, they should be able to give you money for your thing. And if we make that easier for people to do that, then that's great. And if you want to like I don't see the conflict of interest or whatever. I see it like, yeah, I guess I just don't see the conflict of interest. You can make a game and you can also work on home games. When someone clicks donate on the game that you made, they're changing the split. They're giving their money however they want, I guess. It's like, yeah, Yazeed, because we would need to we would need a home games LLC. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like to take that home games chunk, and then whatever other thing to take that other chunk. And if you're getting both chunks, yeah, that's weird, but like, also makes sense. You're in the home games team. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Because to me, it would be funny for someone to be like, I give 90% of my money to home games, none for Yazeed, but then in the back end it's like, and then Yazeed gets money.
Well, we need to be. I have a hard time thinking that people would be aware of home games without knowing that we made it. You know what I mean?
I think the problem is that like I think maybe we add a like made by home games tag or something so people know like, oh, an internal home games person made this game. It's not some rando.
Yeah.
Because otherwise right now if they just see like Yazeed made this game, maybe I should come up with a tag also. Like maybe I shouldn't be home games Yazeed. I should be like home games Bob or something.
Well, we could have attributes associated to users. We would need to have a database for this, or I guess we can still use Cognito, but it'd be janky. But associate some sort of list of things to somebody. So when I say, oh, you're Yazeed, and oh, you're admin, you're home games guy, you're whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe being able to tag, because the other thing too is like, oh, if somebody's like first getting into this, maybe they should play like the internally created home games is like, hey, here's what you can do before we're like, and now play the crazy people made games.
Yeah, it'd be like our seal of approval or like our stamp of quality. I think in like Little Big Planet they did that too, where they would have some sort of marking of an official level, and they would have like the other shit. We can make that distinction too. Maybe the donate button on the home games internal made games don't have an option for a split. They just make it very obvious that 100% of this is going to the developers because these are you know what I mean? Like,
I see what you mean.
100% goes to home games. They made the game in the system. This makes it really weird though when other people can change your game. Then it's like, is that even?
Well, other people can change my game in that they can open up a pull request, and I can be like, interesting.
What if you die? I mean, like, not to be grim, but I'm just thinking, like, I'm just thinking, how do you confirm that someone can change your game after you can't confirm it anymore?
Well, this is what. Oh, I see what you mean. That is kind of like a problem with the open source approach to this and having a donate button.
But it is a donate and not a pay me for product button. It's like,
yeah,
you just have to know who you're donating to, which is the person who made this game, but also like maybe we can have some sort of
OG creator.
Yeah. This is fuzzy though, because then what if 10 people add changes on top of that original thing to the point where the game is like not the original game anymore? Should every individual then be credited, but not every individual get part of the donation unless the person who makes the game
if you couldn't donate to the people who are helping the game, they're just gonna fork it and make a new game. Effectively, right? That's what I would do. Yeah. I could make Square 2, or I could fix Square, but if I fix Square, I don't get money. But if I make Square 2, I do get money. Sounds like I just make Square 2.
Yeah, but then what if the owner of the Square IP doesn't want you to, you know what I mean? Like, how do you make a sequel to someone's game without their approval? And then if they're approving that, then it's like, why are they not approving the change on the original game? And then,
I mean, I think that comes to you or me to settle that dispute of, is this
fuck, I don't want to settle that dispute.
I mean, listen, it's what you and I are the administrators, so either you're saying that I have to settle the dispute alone, or you're going to help me.
No. No, I'm just saying I don't want to even have that dispute in the first place. How do we know?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I don't want that to be a problem. That's a weird one. I think it would be really great if we had a programmatic way to say these are all of the contributors to this game, and then in the UI show all the contributors, and also say in the UI, this is the one that gets paid for this. This guy, these guys contributed. This guy's getting this game. We're getting this money, and when someone.
But then why would anyone contribute to fix a game?
The goodness of their heart.
It doesn't
work.
It doesn't work with money. Listen, I'm ever the optimist in human kindness, and I think people probably would still do it, but I think more people would do it if they could get some sick Skrilla from it. But I'd like to table this topic because I haven't had dinner yet.
Oh shit!
And we will be talking about this for like days. So I think
next episode we'll.
What I would like is if next episode you take this list and you order it on the things like what you would like to address first, second, third, so forth, and then we can kind of like dig deeper on them. And also, like, you and I should probably both think about this idea of paying people, because I think there's a lot of edge cases like that and some questions to be had still.
Especially legal shit. There's just questions.
Especially because money is going to be involved once that happens.
Okay, then we'll move to Song of the Week so you can eat.
Well, just real quick, was there anything that I didn't ask about that you really wanted to touch on?
No, my big thing is the donations. That was like a oh shit thing. It seems big and complicated and hairy and gross, but that's the big thing. Yeah,
I think that one when we go to talk about that one's we're gonna set aside some time for it.
Yeah,
like maybe an episode just about that one.
Yeah, when I went through this list again, because I was just like adding as I was thinking about stuff, and then I got to the list today, and I was like, this is unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you could cut this list in half and probably have a year of work ahead of you.
Yeah.
Also, it looks very top heavy.
What do you mean?
Like the donate button, the dev thing, like the first two, then the UI is the next one, and then it's a bunch of like, a couple like easier ones like spectate and stuff like that, and then it's like, back to the hard stuff. But all right, let's move on to the song of the week, because we're looking right now at about 3 hours of recording.
Holy shit! Song of the week. My song of the week this week was Playboi Carti, "Stop Breathing." What'd you think about it, Yazeed?
I did not like this song.
Yeah,
but it definitely has good energy. Like, it doesn't have good energy; it has enjoyable energy.
It has aggressive, fucking demonic energy.
It really does. I think some of my favorite lines in there are "Keep the blicky, just in case they try me." Crazy line when you think about what a blicky is.
The way he says it, he's like, "Keep the blicky." That part was stuck in my head for like the whole week. So when you wrote that on the Google Doc, I shit my pants. I was so excited.
The other line is, "I take my shirt off and all the hoes stop breathing." Now, I know he's saying, "I'm hot." In my head, the first time I heard it was like, is he saying he smells? And that cracked me up. And then the rest of the song happened, and I was like, definitely he's not saying he smells. I wasn't, because I've never heard anything about Playboi Carti. That name is hilarious.
Yes, you have.
Such a silly name.
I made you listen to Molly like 6 months ago.
Oh, I didn't know that was the same guy.
Yeah, it's the same guy. It's very different energy.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was going to be silly, because the name Playboi Carti strikes me as a silly rapper man. But it is not silly. He definitely does talk about killing people. I think he says he could get a bad word shivved in prison or something like that. And I was like, nice, all right.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on in that song. Well, anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You didn't enjoy it, but I'm glad you heard it.
What is he talking about in this song? Is he straight up saying he can get a guy killed in prison?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a specific dude, because he uses a word that I don't recognize?
He says Ola Runt. He says specific people's names. I don't know about that shit, dude. I don't follow that. I just know this man's yelling. He's making weird ass sounds. Like, he had 6 bars of.
Yeah.
It's like this shit goes crazy.
Reading the lyrics for that song, I was like, what am I getting into here?
Yeah, it's the whole album's the whole thing. It's controversial at the moment, because this was like super anticipated, and it sounds the way it sounds, and people aren't happy. That's whatever. But anyway,
does he not normally put out music like this?
His previous album was a bit more. It was less abrasive, I guess. This one sounds like super just fucking weird. Like, he does weirdo shit with his voice. There's a song called, I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Punk Monk. But in the background, one of the ad libs is him going, like he's seriously like a dying walrus type yelp in the background, and he's doing that in the background of his verse, and it's just like shit like that. You're like, what is going on? But it's just keep going.
Boy, quarantine hit this man hard.
Yeah, if you're interested in like kind of just weirdo music, you should look up Playboi Carti's new album.
Listen, I didn't enjoy this song. I'll be straight up. I listened to the song and I was like, God damn, what is happening? Because it's been a while since I sat down and really listened to really aggressive music. So listening to some really aggressive music is always brings out a different emotion from Yazeed, I think. Well, I want to kill stuff.
Yeah. If you want some extra credit, go look up the song Teen X. It's from the same album. It sounds totally different. It's fucking wild. Anyway, your song of the week was Beads by Saint Mesa. I don't know if you say it. Yeah.
I think it's Mesa.
If you're saying it white, but that's Saint Mesa. It's like Saint Table, Saint Mesa. Anyway, Saint Mesa, Beads.
I don't think he's white.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Mesa is the like super Englishy pronunciation of Mesa, like table.
Oh, really?
Mesa, yeah.
I did not know
That's the Spanish word for table. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, Saint Mesa Beads. This is a song that sounds okay at times and then doesn't. It's like a poppy kind of whatever stuff. It starts off very subtle, and then it goes into this thing where you realize there's a drop. And every time I hear there's like build up to a drop, I'm just like, oh fuck, here we go. Like here comes some bullshit. And then the actual drop happened, and it wasn't that bad. It was kind of like a farty, weird little like, you know, it was like kind of vibracious. I guess it was just kind of weird with the singing because it was mixed so low. Like the instruments were very loud and the voice was super quiet, so I didn't know what was going on. But it was cool. It was nice. It was fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't listen to it again.
I figured this is definitely like the opposite of your song. It's definitely like low energy.
Yeah.
Like, chilled out.
Low energy.
Yeah, this man's basically talking about chilling in a forest. And that's the kind of vibe you get from listening to this song, I felt.
Yeah. It's not keep the blicky on me. It's not that.
No,
kind
he
of
doesn't.
energy.
Yeah, there's no blicky on this one. He's saying that like you're just a bead of rain in the lightning. You know,
Is that what he's saying?
Temporary. Yeah.
All right. The words just did not come across.
Yeah, it took me a long time. I actually had to go listen to read the lyrics while I was listening to the song to figure out what the heck he's talking about. But it's basically the whole song is basically like you're temporary, which I think is interesting.
Okay. What's the word that we said that one time? Ephemeral.
Ephemeral.
Yeah. That word that we said that one time.
The word that we said that one time.
You still got it.
Yeah. A word that I actually saw a lot on Reddit this weekend was vermicelitude. Basically like how realistic something is.
Okay. I've never heard that word.
It came up because people are talking about paintings. But anyway,
I'm
gonna try to sneak that in once I nail that pronunciation. I'm gonna sneak that in.
We'll workshop it. That wasn't super smooth, you know.
No, it's not. It's not yet. No.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I'm not surprised you didn't like it. It was between that song and a different song, and the other song is like 9 minutes long, and I continuously will avoid giving you the 9-minute song to listen to.
I don't have the attention span. I don't have the attention span for a 9-minute song, let alone cyberpunk.
I still hate driving in that game. I don't know if they're ever gonna fix it because driving that game is so hilariously terrible. But at a certain point, missions are so you have to drive because it would take you like 2 hours of walking. And at the end, towards the end, I was like, man, I just want to talk to this person. I like the person. And the driving is terrible and the shooting's not great. Can I just like fast teleport? But then you have to go through a loading screen, which is even worse, I think, than just driving there. Anyway.
I'd be surprised if it were better. I mean, that'd be a real shocker if your driving was worse than a loading
screen. They set up everything to make it not shitty. Because all the fast travel points are basically supposed to be connected to like a monorail system, so it's supposed to be like public transportation basically. How cool would it be if you got into a train and the loading screen was you zooming along on a train and it's just the city happening around you and there's like 2 or 3 other people in the car with you? That'd be much cooler than here's a loading screen where you now have to listen to the same news reporter talk about the same thing that you heard when you loaded into the game.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like
I think I want to say Red Dead did that, where it just showed you on the train when you fast traveled. I want to say, but you could also load. I don't know.
Be kind of cool. I think the elevators are actually loading screens in Cyberpunk, so like I think that would have been cool to just keep that kind of vibe. But it's funny to me that in a building packed to the brim with people and so huge that there's only you in the elevator, and the elevator is miraculously like almost always where you need it to be.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
must be the luckiest guy alive because I've been in a hotel with less people than that, and the elevator's never where I want it to be.
Yeah.
You're like, 15-minute wait for the elevator. Might as well take the stairs.
Yeah. That's all I got for this week. I don't think I have anything in my notes.
I mean, this was a lot. Next week will be more goals talk.
Yeah, and less, I don't know. It'll be more focused maybe because we'll know what we're going in with.
Yeah. I mean, also won't have had a huge break of vacation and fun. It'll be back to the old grind this week.
Yeah, life will suck again next week, and we'll be dull and all that kind of stuff.
Not chipper anymore.
Yeah, next week's gonna suck. We'll see you next time.
That's right. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. As always, our music was done by our good friend Tynan, or at Nitan on Bandcamp. That's at NYTAN. You can catch us on Twitter at homegames.io, all one word, or on our website at homegames.io, not one word. And the podcast is available at is this just our email address?
Yeah, you could send us
this
a message.
New.
Sorry, I added that
this
to the end.
This is new?
I'm sorry, I didn't mention this. Send us an email at podcast@homegames.io. We'll read that. Sorry, that was my fault.
All the other ones make sense and have like a little explanation. This one doesn't.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I hit this one like a train. I was like, are our podcast hosted there now? What's going on? Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll be more organized next week. Maybe. Probably not. And hit that outro music. Bye-bye.
Bye.